Ya, selera om boleh.
Oh, ini panggilan juga ya? Oh, itu kan ada staff kan? Iya.
Belum mulai.
Dia di STB kursus bahasa Jerman TGL 8 ujian. Paspor udah jadi. Setidaknya kalau ditanya kamu mau kemana, dia bisa jawab.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Praise and gratitude is addressed to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for giving us our perfect health. So we can gather here for this discussion agenda. And our discussion title is The Role of Religiosity, Science and Environment in Decolonialization Era. And don't forget to praise our salawat and salam upon our Rasulullah Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as the savior of the mankind. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's honor for Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta that we have a guest from Netherlands. We have um, Dr. Alpen Alasak from Netherlands, from Glenbow College, Radboud University. Where is this from? Glenbow College University? Yes. Oh, no. Because I am quite confused how to read this. Okay. Yeah, later on, Bapak Alper will introduce himself. And yeah, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's open our ceremony by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Well, without any further ado, and we have our Vice Rector 4, Bapak Muhammad Dr. Muhammad Ali Imron, as the representative of the university. Bapak Muhammad Ali Imron will deliver his welcoming speech. Please, Bapak, the time is yours.
Baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Selamat pagi Bapak Ibu yang di ruangan ini maupun yang ada di Zoom meeting. First of all, I would like express my gratitude and also honor and welcome to Dr. Alper beserta ya Ibu dan Pak dari Duta Wacana. Selamat datang di Unisa Yogyakarta. On behalf of university, I would like to thank you for your time, your willingness to share your knowledge and also experience to our lecture and also our student. I think a topic this morning is very important that it has been scientifically proven that the spread of every major world religion, particularly from the early period and especially since the Industrial Revolution, has involved or coincided with military expansion by large empires of a smaller nation. This process is what we call colonization. The Ottoman Empire demonstrated this in Europe territories with the spirit of Islam, and as did the VOC or Netherlands and Indonesia with spirit of Christianity. So what happened after colonization, this is certainly an intriguing process. I think it's very important for us. And today's meeting, we will listen to interesting lecture from Professor Elder, who specializes in the role of religion, science, and environmental issues in the era of decolonization. I believe that as a woman university in Indonesia, we are right to pay attention to the topic. In the Indonesian context, it seems we cannot separate ourselves from issues of religion, science, and also environment. Although I'm somewhat concerned with recent public discussion where the government is focusing on STEM. STEM means science, technology, environment, and mathematics that seem to be neglecting the social science, including religion. Even Even so, religious issues will never be separate from Indonesian society and also from Indonesia. So I would like to order to the all participants to be active in this event. I think there's so many questions that will arise from this special meeting, and we will continue our cooperation with Professor next time and international event also. Again, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, thank you very much, Bapak Ali Imron, as the Vice Rector 4 of Universitas Asia Yogyakarta. And then now we are going to listen a lecture from Professor Alper Alasak. Well, I'm going to read his curriculum vitae for a bit. So Dr. Alper is a figure known as the president of the IDAYS Foundation, right? And he is also an expert in Islamic dialogue, focusing on modern Islamic education, critical thinking, and interfaith relation. And then he has experience as director of an Islamic institution from 2000 until 2016, and he is also active as the international speakers in many academic forums. Well, without any further ado, please, Dr. Alper, the mic is yours.
Thank you for the invitation. I think this one has the battery is worn out,
Oh yeah.
so maybe.
That is better. Simple.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good morning, distinguished lecturers, respected colleagues, and fellow students. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present today. My presentation is entitled The Role of Religion, Science, and Environmental Issues in the Era of Decolonization. Today, I would like to discuss how religion, science, and environmental sustainability can be understood as interconnected rather than separate areas of knowledge. I will also explore how the concept of decolonization allows us to reconsider whose knowledge is valued when addressing contemporary environmental challenges. We live in a period of unprecedented environmental crisis. Climate change, biodiversity loss, deforestation, pollution, and ecological degradation affect millions of people around the world. These issues are not simply scientific problems. They are also social, ethical, political, and spiritual challenges. At the same time, there is a growing movement in academia known as decolonization. This movement encourages us to critically examine dominant systems of knowledge and to recognize alternative intellectual traditions that have often been marginalized. In the Indonesian context, this discussion is particularly important. Indonesia is one of the world's most biodiverse countries and also the largest Muslim majority nation. Therefore, Islamic theology has significant potential to contribute to environmental issues and sustainability. My main argument today is that environmental sustainability requires three complementary elements. First, science. Science provides empirical understanding and technological solutions. Second, religion. Religion provides ethical guidance. What shall I do?
Yes.
But we are here,
Okay.
still here. Religion provides ethical guidance and moral responsibility. Third, decolonization. Decolonization allows us to recognize local knowledge and indigenous wisdom as legitimate sources of understanding. By integrating these three dimensions, we can develop a more holistic approach to environmental sustainability that is both scientifically informed and ethically grounded. Before moving forward, I would like to briefly outline the structure of this presentation. First, I will discuss the concept of decolonization. Second, I will examine Islamic theological perspectives on environmental stewardship. Third, I will explore the relationship between science and religion. Finally, I will discuss environmental challenges in Indonesia and propose ways to integrate scientific knowledge, religious values, and local wisdom. With that introduction, let me begin by examining the concept of decolonization. To understand the relationship between religion, science, and environmental issues, we must first understand what is meant by decolonization. When people hear the word decolonization, they often think about political independence from colonial rule. While political independence is certainly important, contemporary scholars use the term in a broader sense. Decolonization also refers to intellectual and epistemological transformation. In other words, it asks us to consider how knowledge is produced, whose knowledge is considered valid, and whose knowledge is ignored. One influential scholar, Anibal Quijano, introduced the concept of the coloniality of power. He argued that even after formal colonialism ended, colonial patterns of thinking continued to shape social institutions, education systems, and knowledge production all over the world. Similarly, Walter Mignolo argues that modernity and coloniality are closely connected. The global dominance of Western knowledge systems did not emerge independently, but developed alongside colonial expansion. As a result, many universities around the world continue to privilege Western theories and methodologies as universal standards of knowledge. Meanwhile, local traditions, indigenous perspectives, and religious knowledge are often treated as secondary or less legitimate. Decolonization challenges this hierarchy. This idea is particularly relevant in environmental studies. Environmental problems are experienced differently in different places. The environmental challenges faced by Indonesian coastal communities, for example, may differ significantly from those experienced in Europe or North America. Therefore, solutions cannot simply be imported from one context to another without adaptation. A decolonized approach encourages dialogue between multiple forms of knowledge, including science, religion, and indigenous traditions. This approach creates opportunities for more inclusive and context-sensitive environmental solutions. In short, decolonization is not about replacing one knowledge system with another. It is about creating space for multiple voices and perspectives to contribute to our understanding of complex global challenges. Indonesia provides an excellent context for exploring the relationship between religion, science, and environmental sustainability. The country possesses extraordinary ecological diversity. It consists of more than 17,000 islands and contains some of the most important ecosystems on Earth. Indonesia is home to tropical rainforests, coral reefs, mangroves, peatland ecosystems, and thousands of plant and animal species. Because of this biodiversity, Indonesia plays a crucial role in global environmental sustainability. At the same time, Indonesia faces significant environmental challenges. One major challenge is deforestation. Large areas of forest have been cleared for agriculture plantations, mining activities, and industrial development. Deforestation contributes to biodiversity loss and reduces the capacity of forests to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Another challenge is peatland degradation and peatland fires. During dry seasons, peatland fires can release enormous amounts of greenhouse gases and create severe air pollution. Marine pollution is also a growing concern. Plastic waste threatens marine ecosystems, damages coral reefs, and affects coastal communities that depend on fishing and tourism. Climate change further intensifies these challenges. Rising sea levels, changing rainfall patterns, floods, droughts, and extreme weather events create additional pressure on vulnerable communities. However, Indonesia is not only ecologically significant, it is also socially and culturally diverse. Islam is the majority religion, but Indonesia is home to many religious traditions and indigenous cultures. In many regions, Islamic teachings coexist with local customs, often referred to as adat. This combination of religious values, cultural traditions, and environmental diversity creates a unique context for discussing sustainability. Indonesia demonstrates that environmental challenges cannot be solved through technology alone. Scientific expertise is essential, but ethical values and community participation are equally important. For this reason, Indonesia serves as an important example of how different knowledge systems can work together in addressing environmental problems. Having discussed decolonization and the Indonesian context, I will now turn to Islamic environmental ethics. One of the central assumptions of modern environmental thought is that humans must develop a responsible relationship with nature. Interestingly, this idea is also deeply rooted in Islamic theology. In Islam, nature is not viewed merely as a collection of resources for human consumption. Rather, nature is considered part of Allah's creation and therefore possesses intrinsic value. The Quran repeatedly encourages believers to observe the natural world and reflect on its signs. Mountains, rivers, plants, animals, and celestial bodies are all described as manifestations of God's wisdom and power. Because nature is created by Allah, humans have ethical responsibilities towards it. Islam teaches that human beings are not absolute owners of the earth. Instead, they are caretakers who have been entrusted with responsibility. This understanding creates a moral framework for environmental stewardship. Environmental protection, therefore, becomes more than a practical necessity. It becomes a religious obligation. From this perspective, reducing waste, conserving natural resources, protecting biodiversity, and preventing pollution can all be understood as ethical actions. Conversely, environmental destruction can be viewed as a violation of moral responsibility. Another important aspect of Islamic environmental ethics is accountability. Islam teaches that human actions have consequences and that individuals are accountable before God for how they use the resources entrusted to them. This principle encourages long-term thinking and discourages reckless exploitation of nature. It also promotes values such as moderation, humility, and balance. In many ways, these values align closely with contemporary sustainability principles. Therefore, Islamic environmental ethics offers not only spiritual guidance, but also practical insights for addressing modern ecological challenges. I would say the Christianity does the same. Therefore, in the next section, we will examine one of the most important Quranic concepts related to environmental responsibility, the concept of humans as Khalifa, or stewards of the earth. One of the most important theological foundations for Islamic environmental ethics is the concept of Khalifa, or stewardship. This concept is introduced in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 30, where Allah says to the angels, "Indeed, I will place upon the earth a Khalifa." The term Khalifa is often translated as vicegerent, trustee, or steward. While there are different interpretations among scholars, most agree that the concept implies responsibility rather than domination. Unfortunately, some people interpret human superiority as a license to exploit nature without limits. However, Islamic theology does not support such an interpretation. The role of a steward is not to destroy or abuse what has been entrusted to them. Rather, a steward is expected to protect, manage, and preserve. From this perspective, human beings have a duty to ensure that the earth remains habitable and productive for future generations. Environmental sustainability, therefore, becomes part of fulfilling humanity's divine responsibility. The concept of Khalifa also emphasizes accountability. Human beings have been given intelligence, freedom, and power, but these gifts come with obligations. When forests are destroyed unnecessarily, when rivers become polluted, or when species become extinct because of irresponsible human actions, these issues are not only environmental concerns, they also raise moral and theological questions. Islam encourages us to ask whether our actions contribute to the flourishing of creation or its destruction. The stewardship model provides a powerful alternative to purely exploitative approaches toward nature. Instead of asking how much we can take from the environment, it encourages us to ask how we can care for and sustain it. This concept remains highly relevant today as societies confront environmental challenges on an unprecedented scale. The idea of stewardship reminds us that environmental responsibility is not optional. It is a fundamental aspect of being human according to Islamic theology. In addition to Khalifa, Islamic environmental ethics is shaped by three other important concepts: Tawheed, Amana, and Fasad. Let us begin with Tawheed. Tawheed refers to the oneness of God and is the central principle of Islamic belief. However, its implications extend beyond theology in the narrow sense. If all creation originates from one creator, then all creation is interconnected. Human beings, animals, plants, oceans, forests, and ecosystems are not isolated entities. They exist within a unified system established by Allah. This understanding encourages an ecological worldview based on interdependence. Environmental degradation in one area often affects many other areas. When forests disappear, biodiversity declines. When biodiversity declines, ecosystems become less resilient. When ecosystems become less resilient, human societies also suffer. So this is the interdependence. Tawhid encourages us to recognize these connections. The second concept is amana, meaning trust. According to Islamic teachings, the earth and its resources are entrusted to humanity. Many people in the world think that everything belongs to us, but in the Islam, even our body doesn't belong to us. You cannot kill yourself. You cannot harm yourself because it's not yours. So you have to protect your life. You have to protect your health. So you have to protect the world as well. This is given to us, entrusted to humanity. This means that nature does not belong to us in an absolute sense. We are temporary caretakers rather than permanent owners. The concept of amana introduces an important principle of intergenerational justice. And justice is also one of the main subjects in the Islam, adl. Our responsibility is not limited to ourselves. We must also consider future generations who will inherit the consequences of our decisions. If we exhaust resources, destroy ecosystems, or contribute to climate instability, future generations will bear the costs. Therefore, environmental sustainability can be understood as fulfilling the trust that God has given humanity. The third concept is fasad, which means corruption, disorder, or destruction. In Surah Al-A'raf, verse 56, the Quran states, "Do not cause corruption on the earth after it has been set in order." Many contemporary Muslim scholars interpret environmental destruction as a form of fasad. Pollution, excessive resource extraction, habitat destruction, and ecological degradation disrupt the balance that Allah established in creation. This perspective transforms environmental issues into moral concerns. Climate change is not simply a scientific phenomenon. Deforestation is not merely an economic activity. These actions also have ethical dimensions. Together, Tawheed, Amana, and Fasad provide a comprehensive framework for understanding environmental responsibility in Islam. They encourage respect for nature, accountability for our actions, and commitment to sustainability. Having explored Islamic environmental ethics, we can now examine the relationship between Islam and science. In contemporary discussions, religion and science are often portrayed as opposing forces. However, the Islamic intellectual tradition offers a different perspective. Islam strongly encourages the pursuit of knowledge. The Quran repeatedly invites believers to observe nature, reflect on creation, and seek understanding. There are many, many verses. Knowledge or ilm occupies a central position in Islamic thought. Scientific inquiry is therefore not seen as a threat to faith in Islam. Rather, it can be understood as a means of appreciating God's creation. Historically, this perspective contributed to remarkable scientific achievements. During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars made significant contributions to mathematics, medicine, astronomy, chemistry, and geography. For example, Al-Khwarizmi developed foundational work in algebra. Ibn Sina made major contributions to medicine. Al-Biruni advanced astronomy and geographical studies, etc., etc., etc. Importantly, these scholars didn't view scientific investigation as separate from religion. So these people were also theologians. They were writing on Islamic issues, but they were also doing research on medicine or astronomy or mathematics, etc. They understood the study of nature as part of understanding God's wisdom. This historical experience challenges the idea that science belongs exclusively to one civilization or cultural tradition. It also supports the broader goal of decolonizing knowledge. Recognizing Islamic contributions to science reminds us that scientific development has always been a global and multicultural process. Today, science remains essential for understanding environmental systems. Climate science, ecology, conservation biology, and environmental engineering provide crucial tools for addressing environmental challenges. Islamic theology doesn't replace these disciplines. Instead, it complements them by providing ethical guidance regarding how scientific knowledge should be used. Let us now examine some of the major environmental challenges facing Indonesia today. One of the most significant issues is deforestation. Indonesia contains some of the world's most important tropical forests, yet large areas have been cleared for agriculture, palm oil production, mining, and infrastructure development. Deforestation has several consequences. It destroys habitats for endangered species, reduces biodiversity, and contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. Another major challenge involves peatland degradation and fires. Indonesia possesses extensive peatland ecosystems that store enormous quantities of carbon. I have read something like 30% of all peatland is in Indonesia. When peatlands are drained or burned, large amounts of carbon dioxide are released into the atmosphere. The resulting haze affects public health and can spread across national borders. The marine pollution presents another serious concern. India's oceans support fisheries, tourism, and biodiversity, yet they face increasing pressure from plastic waste, pollution, and overfishing. Climate change further intensifies these challenges. Sea level rise threatens coastal communities. Changes in rainfall patterns affect agriculture. Extreme weather events become more frequent and severe. These issues are all interconnected. Environmental problems rarely occur in isolation. Deforestation can influence climate patterns. Climate change can affect marine ecosystems. Ecosystem degradation can impact livelihoods and food security. Because these challenges are interconnected, solutions must be also integrated. Scientific knowledge is essential, but ethical commitment, public awareness, and community participation are equally important. This is where religion and local wisdom can play valuable roles. One of the central goals of decolonization is recognizing knowledge systems that have often been marginalized. In Indonesia, local wisdom, commonly referred to as adat, represents an important source of environmental knowledge. Many indigenous communities have developed sustainable environmental practices over centuries. These practices emerged through long-term interaction with specific ecosystems. Examples include traditional forest management systems, water conservation techniques, customary land use regulations, and sustainable agricultural practices. Such knowledge is often highly detailed and adapted to local environmental conditions. Unfortunately, colonial and post-colonial development models sometimes dismissed indigenous knowledge as unscientific or outdated. Decolonization challenges this assumption. Local knowledge should not be romanticized or treated as perfect. However, it should be recognized as a legitimate source of insight. Scientific research and local knowledge can complement each other. Scientists may provide data and analytical tools, while local communities contribute practical experience and cultural understanding. When these perspectives are combined, environmental policies often become more effective and socially acceptable. Recognizing adat knowledge also promotes cultural dignity and epistemic justice. It acknowledges that valuable knowledge exists in many forms and many places. This recognition is essential for building inclusive approaches to environmental sustainability. Education plays a crucial role in shaping environmental awareness and social responsibility. In Indonesia, both religious and secular educational institutions have important contributions to make. Let's begin with pesantren. Pesantren are among the most influential educational institutions in Indonesia. They shape the values and perspectives of millions of students. By integrating environmental themes into religious education, pesantren can help students understand environmental protection as part of their faith. For example, teaching about stewardship, trust, moderation, and responsibility can be linked directly to contemporary environmental challenges. Some pesantren have already implemented environmental programs involving waste management, tree planting, renewable energy, and sustainable agriculture. Universities also have a crucial role. A decolonized curriculum should expose students to multiple knowledge traditions. Students should learn about scientific research, but also Islamic intellectual heritage and indigenous ecological knowledge. Such an approach encourages critical thinking, the disciplinary understanding. Environmental problems are complex. They cannot be fully understood through a single discipline. A decolonized educational model prepares students to engage with environmental issues from scientific, ethical, cultural, and social perspectives. This kind of education is essential for developing future leaders capable of addressing sustainability challenges. To illustrate these ideas in practice, let's consider several examples. Across Indonesia, community-based conservation initiatives demonstrate the benefits of integrating different knowledge systems. In some forest conservation projects, local communities work alongside environmental scientists and religious leaders. Traditional ecological knowledge helps identify sustainable management practices. Scientific methods assist with monitoring biodiversity and ecosystem health. Religious values encourage an ethical commitment and community participation. Similarly, mangrove restoration projects along Indonesian coastlines combine ecological science with community engagement. Mangroves protect coastline from erosion, support biodiversity, and store significant amounts of carbon. Successful restoration requires both scientific expertise and local involvement. These examples suggest several policy recommendations. First, government should strengthen environmental regulations and improve enforcement. Second, environmental education should be integrated throughout the educational system. Third, religious institutions should be included in environmental awareness campaigns. Fourth, indigenous and local communities should participate actively in environmental decision-making. Finally, policymakers should recognize the environmental sustainability requires both scientific evidence and ethical guidance. Policies are most effective when they are technically sound, culturally relevant, and socially supported. Conclusion. As I conclude, I would like to return to the central theme of this presentation. Religion, science, and environmental sustainability should not be understood as isolated fields. Each contributes something essential. Science helps us understand environmental processes, identify problems, and develop practical solutions. Religion provides ethical guidance, moral motivation, and a sense of responsibility toward creation. Local wisdom contributes contextual knowledge developed through generations of experience. Decolonization encourages us to value all of these forms of knowledge rather than privileging only one perspective. In the Islamic tradition, concepts such as Khalifa, Tawhid, Amana, and Fasad provide strong ethical foundations for environmental responsibility. These principles remind us that humans are caretakers rather than owners, trustees rather than exploiters. Indonesia offers a powerful example of how scientific knowledge, religious values, and local traditions can work together. These environmental challenges facing humanity are complex and urgent. Addressing them requires cooperation across disciplines, institutions, religions, and cultures. By integrating science, religion, and local wisdom, we can move toward a future that is not only environmentally sustainable, but also socially just and ethically grounded. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Albert, for such a meaningful presentation. Yes, indeed, religion, science, and local wisdom cannot stand alone, and all of them are interconnected, and we have Islam as our value to connect those issues. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now I open discussion. So if you have any ideas, any questions, or any any ideas, please you can raise your hand and then you can ask questions or any ideas. Yes, Bapak. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Doharul fasadu fil bahri wal bahr. Seeing the massive environmental destruction in Indonesia, honestly, I'm worried about this, where all the actors, from businessmen, government, and also the public, they are also a religion people. And the environmental destruction also very massive. I feel that religion does not have a significant role in this matter. What is your opinion on this? One question. Another question. Okay.
Let's do it question by question.
Okay.
I think religion, how we learn religion is as if religion is for our spiritual guidance,
Yes.
preparing us for our life in hereafter, but not as part of our worldly life, how we should organize this world or our life in this world. For example, there are many picture-like descriptions of Jannah in the Quran. تحتها الأنهار, etc. The palace-like houses under which the rivers are going through.
Yeah.
What does it say? Many people read Quran as if this is something related to a life hereafter.
Yes.
Why not read this as if Jannah is designed like this? Why don't you design the world like that as well? If Jannah is beautiful, if God gives this as an example how beauty should be, why not design the world like Jannah?
So you mentioned that we need to the new way to interpretation the ayah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to read the Quran as if Quran is part of our everything, our every part of our life, and make this world a Jannah. We cannot make this world that beautiful like the Jannah, the real Jannah, but why not take the Jannah described in the Quran as an example? Why not see these verses as a guidance, as a motivation, as a stimulation to make our world a Jannah? So for many Muslims, I see, for example, they read the hadith, the cleanliness is half of the religion.
Okay.
And I saw some imams preaching this, and after that on the street, they drink something and throw it, throw the glass or
glass.
the plastic to the street.
Okay.
So preaching but not practicing is also a big problem. In the West, it's very unfortunate, but in the West, if I don't know if any of you have been to Holland or Germany or England, if you visit the Islamic part of the city, they are usually the dirtiest. Why? It's as if this hadith is not for us, but for the English, for the Dutch. Because when you visit their streets, it's clean, it's beautiful. It does me a lot of pain how we read the Quran but not practice it. How we read the hadith is just a theory. We think we are clean, we think we are practicing, we think we are good Muslims, but I think there is a lot of things we should correct in our lives. And starting with a good education, we need to teach our children by giving the correct example. If an imam who is preaching is throwing things on the street, it doesn't have any effect when he preaches about cleanliness. لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. لِمَ. If you preach it, you have to practice it.
Okay. I will go to my second question based on your explanation. I think it's specific in Indonesia from our history that Islam was brought to Indonesia by preacher who I think their orientation is mystical orientation, like Ghazali and also Ibnu Athaillah, etc. Do you see this is as a factor that in why scientifically Indonesian society lack awareness in environmental and management? So they are the most in the mystical practice, not in critical thinkings about Quran.
I think this is if you look at the Islamic world overall, this is one of the main issues.
Yes.
So I think we in the golden age for us was religion, worldly affairs, science were all one,
Like
interdependent, interconnected thing. People were very religious, very mystical, but very hardworking and developing everything and doing everything correct, or trying at least. But Islamic world had been attacked by Mongols, attacked by Crusades, attacked, etc., etc. There were a lot of wars, and the integrity is gone. The biggest libraries in Baghdad, they were all burned down, etc. So Islamic world had lost its momentum on many different levels, on many different aspects, etc. So we are trying to regain this, but there is a very long period of colonization in between. So decolonization for many countries on political level has been established, but the colonization of the mind continues. So this is one of the main issues. Still, if, for example, we would come up with something here, we feel the necessity to ask a European scientist whether we are doing it okay. To validate, we are going to still to the Western world, which is dominating us here. So therefore, we need to continue with this decolonization process of our mind. And it doesn't mean that we should reject everything the Western world has been offering, but we need to have self-reliance, self-belief that we could come up with our own solutions, technologies, whatever. And we have to take everything the West is offering, but we don't have to validate our own things. We have to develop our own ways of thinking, methods which suit us. How we have to combine the culture, the religion, our moral values, our ethics with Western technology and science. And I think if we can free ourselves from the dominance on this field, we can move forward. As long as we have to check it, we have to validate it, we have to ask, we have to beg sometimes. We will be always second best or third best or 10th. We will never be on the same level.
Okay, thank you very much. But maybe
By the way, we moved to the question from
Yeah.
our student in Zoom chat box.
okay.
Yeah, there is a question from Elsima. She is a biotechnology student. Her question is, religion teaches us that nature should be protected. Yet at the same time, universities teach us to develop technologies that intentionally change the nature. For example, as a biotechnology student, we study genetic engineering, plant manipulation, and many other modifications. Then why are we encouraged to study them and be warned at the same time to save nature? Is there a clear principle of acceptable changes?
Yeah. This is the ethics on this issue is a new issue. Organ transplantation, for example, how far you can go, working with embryos, genetical modification, whatever. So these are new territories for us, for the whole world. And on many issues, people don't know how far you can go, what are the criteria, etc. And the problem here is you can be very conservative in some part of the world, honoring the human dignity. But if another part of the world moves forward, you will lack the technology and will be dependent on this country. So that's why many countries, even though they want to choose for human dignity over technology, they feel the necessity to compete with other countries and allow also everything without honoring the human dignity. So I think the ethical responsibility on the Islamic side should be that we need to form a group of academicians working together with theologians and discussing these issues together and coming up with some criteria. At this moment, the distance between religion and science is very big, even in the Islamic countries, even in Christian countries. It's as if science is on an island and we are on another island. And we are communicating not in an efficient way. So in any science project, the world is getting so complex, even psychology, even whatever. We need to cooperate. Social sciences, health sciences, and religion should cooperate and come up with solutions. And some of the universities can be a pilot for this. I think to integrate all these disciplines and start an interdisciplinary approach. I think, for example, to come up with the criteria about what is permissible, what is good, which will bring us further on some health issues, we need at least 20, 30 academicians from different disciplines to tackle this issue. I heard a beautiful method from IT. It has a name, hackathon. It means they bring 120 engineers on IT, and they heckle. They try to find solution for a very difficult problem, which nobody has been able to solve. And they stay 1 week together until they come up with a solution. So in Holland, they used this method last week in health sciences. 120 doctors came together at the University of Radboud, and they tried to find solutions for some of the problems, the unsolvable problems in the healthcare. And they came up with 10 solutions in 1 weekend. 10 solutions. So this is something we can use from an interdisciplinary view. So if we can bring 100 people from different disciplines, I think we can come up with something which is suitable and religiously correct, ethically defined, accepted for everybody. That's my idea. But at this moment, is the distance too big? And I agree with her that it's a big issue.
Okay, so one more question from yeah. So we have more questions from the participants here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Setia. My name is Askuri. The head of the Asia Center at this university. I just wrote a book entitled Syarhur Risalah lil Mar'atil Mutaqaddimah in Arabia. But in Indonesia, Syarah Risalah Perempuan Berkemajuan. It is the visionary document of the future, the vision of the biggest women organization in Indonesia, Asia. It is my book, and then but I want to introduce one or two questions here. If you answer my question, I will give you a book as a gift.
The best
So-
to earn this.
It's just a joke. I did not hear about the women women voices in about your in your argument. I think the about the 50% of the people in the world is women, but I think it is. But I did not hear the women's voices from the argument. Also, what is your perspective or your argument about the voices of women voices? And this is the first question. And then the second question is about
Go by one by one by one. One by one.
okay.
Yes, I didn't mention the voice of the women because it was about environment, and you're correct. I could include that, but I just had so much time, so I could add many more things. Yes, we lack the voice of women in our discussions on many issues, on many levels. This has to change. I agree. One of the reasons is the Western thinking is hierarchical, and the voice of the women has been ages long suppressed in the West. In the Islamic world, the voice of the women was part of the system. Aisha radiallahu anha is our main source for fiqh. The first university in the whole world has been opened by a Moroccan woman. So in the Islamic world, although the culture was patriarchal, the Islamic view on the voice of the women, honoring the voice of women, including the voice of the women, giving the women the same position is central. But we are now discussing these issues also affected by, guided by, sometimes by the Western feminism, thinking of feminism. So I would say we have in the Islam enough sources, enough motivation. And if we would start from our own values, our own religious teaching, we could solve this problem. The Western problem with women is coming from very different historical view on the women. In the Roman Empire, if anyone would kill a woman in his house, it wasn't a legal issue because women didn't count as human beings.
That's human being.
Yeah. In the Christian world, a long time, women were also discussed whether they had a soul or not. Because of the Roman influence, up until 1840s, women also had been prosecuted because of whether they were witches. So they have a very very big issue with women, and they are trying to solve on their own way from their own religious values and their own cultural values, starting from their own problems. But we are from the East, we have our own problems. We cannot say we were always perfect in the history. We had our own issues, we had our own problems, but we have our own values, we have our own religious teachings. And I would say from starting and using our own values, we will come up with a better solution rather than importing the methods, colonized methods from the West. That would be my suggestion. I don't know if I have been able to answer your question in such a way that I earned a little bit.
Okay, thank you. As I promised, I will give you my book.
It's such a big homework because the book is written in Bahasa Indonesia. In Bahasa Indonesia. You need Google Translate all the time. Okay, yeah, but Pak Askuri, I'm really sorry we can move to the next participants to ask question. Yeah, Bapak. Yeah, yes, Bapak, please you can ask questions too.
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Alper, for your remarkable presentations. For those who didn't know me yet, my name is Pendeta August Cornelis Tamawiwi. I'm a assistant professor in ethics and constructive theology at Duta Wacana Christian University. And I'm now here representing the steering committee of our consortium, the Netherlands Indonesian Committee for Consortium for Muslim Christian Relations. So on behalf of our consortium, we would like to send our warmest regard to everyone here in UNISA. And we are very open to more work collaborations in the future. Thank you also for Arpo for bringing us to this crucial point on local wisdom, adat, and the necessity of decolonizing knowledge. And this ties perfectly into the question I wanted to raise. So as you might know, in Christian eco-theology today, many theologians are deeply troubled by our own historical concept of stewardship. Even when we try to shift its meaning from domination to care, as you proposed, we find that stewardship inherently carries a lingering colonial hierarchical framework because it implicitly separates or ranks creation, so placing the human above the nature and the non-human below as passive subject dependent on us. So if our goal in this era is true decolonialization, shouldn't we move away from this hierarchy entirely toward viewing humans and nature as an integral being? Because this is precisely where indigenous local wisdom shines in Indonesia. For example, in Papua, the indigenous people do not view nature as property to be managed. So they refer to nature as mama, mother. who actively nurses, feeds, and nourishes them as humans. And this turned the colonial stewardship model on its head, I think. And it reminds us that non-human creation has been taken care. So looking at your proposal of Tauhid, unity of creation and local wisdom, how can us as Abrahamic religion, Christian and Islam, learn from the indigenous framework, feminist indigenous framework, like the Papuan concept of mama, to completely dismantle our lingering colonial hierarchies? Thank you.
Um, I agree with you that we have a lot of things to learn from indigenous wisdom. But I also think that we have, in our own religious thinking, also enough to change our mindset. If, for example, the Christian world is 1.5 billion people, Islamic world also, we cannot stimulate and motivate these people, all of them, to follow the Papua indigenous way of thinking. So we need to move from our own religious sources. And I believe we are now at a stage that none of us can do it on our own, because the problems we are facing now, global. The Islamic world cannot save the world. The Christian world cannot save the world. So we have to cooperate. So we have to cooperate on the level of coming to an ethics, a value system which is for all of the world valid. Returning to our own definition of what is human being, what is our position in this world, how we relate to the creation, etc. So a system which valid is for me and for you, for the indigenous people, through which we can feel that we are side by side facing this issue, and we can kind of being maybe starting as a pilot, but which can be followed by the whole world. So for this to be, to achieve this, I think we need to have more dialogue. We have to come more frequently together, and we need to do this on a interdisciplinary way. Not only theologians, also scientists, also sociologists, also psychologists, to tackle this issue, because it has so many aspects coming from psychology, coming from sociology, coming from... We have to solve these problems all together, and starting with what is our common ground. And you are doing research on ethics, so you may be one of the leaders bringing us together to discuss all these issues. But the time is urgent, so we need to do it as soon as possible. But there are developments. The Catholic Church has done a lot, inviting also other leaders of other religions. I see a lot of initiatives on some scales, but we need to move faster to come up with some models, because the urgency asks us to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then we will have one more question. Anybody from this room? Yeah, Mbak Ola. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Alpen. I'm Ola from Communication Science. I would like to I think the problem in Indonesia is not about the environmental and also about the awareness and mindset of the people. What is less? And actually, from the start of the day until the end of the day, we can get a reward from in Islam. We can get a reward that call is pahala or ibadah. And I think the people in Indonesian context is many misunderstanding about it, and I wanna ask how to change it. How to change it? Actually, they know they understood, but in practice is they don't get the practice. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you.
If I understood it correctly, my answer should be education. Should play a bigger role. That's why I mentioned the pesantren, for example. Actually, the whole schooling, the education system, and the universities can lead this with ulama, and then hand in hand, trying to come up with new methods to teach the children to become aware of these issues and also change their way of thinking, their mindset, etc. For the future generation, the cooperation is a necessity, and interdisciplinary approach is necessity. We forget the politicians, we forget the scientists, and for example, if in a Psantren only the religious leaders try to develop a curriculum to teach, it will lack a lot of power and maybe some tools for these children to implement when they finish Pesantren to change their mindset. So I think I don't know why we have internet. The world has become a small village, but it's as if the distance is growing between politics and education and religion, etc. So we have to start. I don't know which will. The Muhammadiyah is a movement in which they have connection with everybody. So Muhammadiyah can do this, or Nahlatul Ulama, or a cooperation between two of them, or whatever. There need to be on some level, some understanding, some commitment, and starting point, and then moving from that. And also, as I mentioned, you cannot do it on your own. So the Christians, the Hindus, everybody should be included. And we have to use everybody's stronger sides, everybody's strengths, and then maybe you can move forward. So this is my opinion.
Okay, well, actually, there is one last question from our student. This is from Maulana, and the question is in the context of environmental sustainability and the decolonization of knowledge, how can governments better recognize and incorporate students' ideas, researches, and environmental initiatives into policymaking processes?
The universities have the responsibility for this because they decide what the students are learning, how they are learning, to what purpose they are learning, and how the students can implement this. So a university like this can think on this issue and start kind of maybe a pilot, a project, giving tasks to students to come up in an interdisciplinary way with some solutions, and invite politicians to question the students, and so that the students can improve this further, and then give, maybe in this way the politicians can implement some of these solutions. There must be more dialogue between the politics, the industry, the theologians, and the science. And then the students, I think and I believe, they can come up with good implementable solutions, and that would change a lot of things in the also mindset of the politicians. If science just improve. I think that's why decolonization of knowledge is important, because that's how the Western thinking is compartmental. The Eastern thinking was interdisciplinary. The Islamic thinking was interdisciplinary. We have to return. It's not a matter of decolonization. It's a matter of using our own thinking and methodologies in which we give space to every view: Christian, Jew, Hindu, science, politics, industrial, technology, whatever. Just, and then from this, I think we can come up with new views, new way of thinking, new technologies, new methodologies, whatever. The microphone I have is drowning, but so it has something to do with me.
No, yeah.
I just noticed.
Well, okay. Well, I think that was the last questions. Thank you very much for the very insightful presentations and also discussion session. Please give applause to Bapak Alpat. Okay, then actually we have a token of appreciation from Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta. So before we close our session today, then there is a token of appreciation from the university. And then later, Bapak Ibu, after we close the agenda today, we're going to have a photo session together. Oh, di tangga atau di ruangan aja? Di tangga. Yeah, the photo session will be on our iconic stair because we usually take photo together there with our guests. Well, for Bapak Muhammad Ali Imron, please you can give the token of appreciation from Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta. Wow. Sustainable energy.
Yes, there is a documentary in Indonesia. I will send the link to you. I think the new is good. Yes. Colonized by government in Papua. Okay. It's also step by step process. You cannot change one step. But there to, I don't know, gain power by over. This is my idea. In all regions, these on some level. I think we need to close this.
Well, that's a very heated discussion regarding Papua and also the indigenous people. Yeah, maybe Bapak-Bapak can continue the discussion later after we close our agenda today. Well, thank you very much for all participants. And then this agenda is actually organized by Center of Women, Families, and Disaster Studies and also Humas Unisa. And Bapak Ibu, let's close our agenda today by reciting hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And we're going to have a photo session.